welcome to La Vida Las Vegas podcast. We're two physical therapists living the life in Las Vegas. I'm Dr. Erica.
And I'm Dr. Joe. We created this podcast for two reasons. First, to connect the healthcare, wellness, and fitness communities in Las Vegas. And second, to highlight all the amazing people we've met along the way.
Thank you for listening, and remember to take care of yourself.
Welcome to La Vida Las Vegas podcast. We appreciate you showing up and being on our show today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
If you want to introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
I am Steve Brown Jr. I'm a teacher at middle school here in Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, and I am also a filmmaker. So I can elaborate on that if you like.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Let's talk about it.
Absolutely. Tell us about it.
So I started teaching in 2014. I was a long-term sub. I was a vacancy sub. I feel like I have to kind of go back a little bit to lead up to that point because there's all of these other little events that kind of led me to there. I came here from Houston, Texas, and in 2010, after I was here for a couple of months, my mom passed away, so I had to rush home for that. Spent the holidays home with my family. I was very happy to be able to do that. Of course, the circumstances didn't quite warrant it to be the happiest time, but still thankful to see my family and stuff like that and things like that. And it was kind of funny because I had a conversation with my mom, and I told her, I was like, I feel like I need to move to Las Vegas. And it was kind of the family where you don't do anything big unless you talk to mom first. So I was like, what do you think about that? How do you feel about that? And she was like, I think you should do it. I think you should go for it. And so I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to go for it. And I was working at Best Buy at the time. And in Houston, I was a supervisor at Best Buy. And it seemed like I was going to hopefully become a store manager or something like that. I was kind of on this path to try to make something happen. But when I was in Lake Jackson, Texas, it was kind of moving. And then I moved back into Houston to open a store, and then it kind of felt like it was starting to fall flat. Like I lost my momentum. I lost my mojo to want to do it. And I think that kind of prompted me to want to move to Las Vegas. I came out here for a few bodybuilding shows. I was always interested in bodybuilding. My dad had this magazine on the coffee table with Arnold on it, and I was a huge Arnold fan when I was a kid. And I was just like, man, just look at this dude. Look at all the stuff that he's doing. And Rocky and so Sylvester Stallone and all of those things that were going on. I was just so amazed. Apollo Creed, and I loved it all. I just absorbed it all. It was just a huge sponge. But I grew up kind of not being sure of myself. So I felt like going out, getting engulfed into the bodybuilding industry as far as like not training per se, but just connecting with people, being 6'3" and being a heavier set guy, I felt like I fit. I felt like I didn't stand out so much. So that was really cool. And people brought me in. I remember sitting with an IFBB pro, and he was saying, like, are you competing this weekend? And I was like, no, I'm far from ever doing that. And he was like, you're never as far from hitting a stage than you think. And that saying just stuck with me. His name was Brian something, and his last name escapes me. But we were the only two people on a shuttle at one of the busiest shows. And I feel like those were one of those defining moments in your life where it was meant to happen, right? Here I am 10 years later, and I still remember that conversation. It's so weird because I feel like when those moments happen, you remember every little thing. You remember the color of the seat. You remember the bus driver. You remember where you were leaving from and everything. And that show was here in Las Vegas as well. And I saw him again at the expo that same weekend. He remembered me, shook my hand, and talked to me while people were waiting to get autographs from him. And so that was really cool. Because of that and because of kind of like my yes mentality, opened some doors. I was offered a job. I moved here to do photography and to be an operations manager for a website. So I did that for a while and still kind of felt lost. I was then hired to work at the Cosmopolitan as well. I worked for Marquee inside of the Cosmopolitan. And that was a good experience. I got to be a bouncer. And so I did that for a while. They used to call me Brother Bear in Texas. So not really the kind of like, excuse me, ma'am, excuse me, sir, you need to get out. I'll get that way if I have to, but I did asset protection here right up the street at the Charleston Best Buy, and shout out to everybody at the store. that are still there. And some of my friends are still working there, so that's pretty cool. And they moved up, so that's awesome. But so I have it in me. It's definitely something I'll do, but it's not something I like to do. I grew up on kindness. Of course, no one's perfect, but I saw my mother was so sweet. They used to call her Pie. That was her nickname, Pie. So that was really cool. And so going through life and going through things here, craziness of being at a nightclub, not the nightclub type. Give me a bar, I'll sit all day. Put me in a nightclub, and I'm just gonna kind of look around, just like wonder what am I doing here. I might dance a little bit, but So I didn't feel like I was really fulfilling myself. I met my wife here, and it's such a funny story because I told a joke to someone at one of the nightclubs. I think I was at Lavo. And one of the cool things is that, the hosts, they always get these tables, right? And so they saw me. They were like, hey, come join us. We have a table. So why don't you come hang out with us? And some of the other bouncers were there. And we were off, just kind of hanging out, having fun. So I'm standing there, and I tell this young lady a joke. And she just kind of like had a blank stare. And I was like, oh, maybe it wasn't funny. And then like 30 seconds later, she finally started laughing, like she finally got it. And I was like, I'm in the wrong environment. I need to surround myself with people that are going to mentally challenge me, this, that, the other. I felt like I went from being brother bear to like grizzly bear one day because I was just like, I don't know. It's just the vibes of people. Like people give off vibes, people receive vibes. And I was just receiving vibes that did not sit well with my piece. So I was on OkCupid. Went on a few dates. I didn't go on for 2 weeks, and a part of me was like, well, why can't women reach out to guys? Why do we always have to reach out to the women? Because I could be missing out on an opportunity. Funny enough, the day I logged on to delete my account, my wife had messaged me, and I was like, oh, well, who is this? And she was a teacher, and so we met, and things quickly took off, and I told her how I went to Texas Southern University straight out of high school. Like I took 2 weeks off of school after graduating, and then I went to summer school, and it was I'd say it's the best decision I made. But at the time, I burned myself out. 2 weeks straight into summer school. Went into the fall. I had a band scholarship with Texas Southern, and I dropped out. The next fall, talked to the band director. He said, yeah, if you want to come back, same scholarship, still there for you. And I dropped out again. So I talked to my wife about that, and she was my girlfriend at the time, and she was like, well, what do you want to do? I was like, I don't know what I want to do, something in psychology, and we had conversations about it. And I also went up to her school to volunteer for different things. Like she was doing student council, so I would help with student council events, and the kids just gravitated towards me. And it was a good feeling, to just be given that ability to move people. I didn't do anything to earn it. They gave it to me. So I felt like that's something important. If a child who is very honest and forthright tells you, hey, Mr. Brown, you're cool. I'm like, hey, then I'm actually, at least in this child's mind, I am cool, and I have to live up to that. I have to make sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. So I went through school, finished, I got my degree. A year later, I go back to 2 weeks after high school. A year later, I went and got my master's degree, so now I'm able to be an assistant principal. So I'm looking forward to doing that. And 2014, I had enough credits to be a vacancy sub, so they put me in a classroom. I remember my first day. It's so vivid in my mind, this moment where my wife jokes because she's like, I went to work. We're waiting on your FBI background check to come through and everything. And the principal, shout out to Miss DeCiderato, principal, she apparently knows people, right? Mm-hmm. And she gets on the phone and she calls these people and is like, I need him licensed in my building now. And this week's process that I was supposed to go in until like maybe December. I remember it was like mid-November, and they gave me a call and were like, hey, can you come in? I was like, what? I was still in bed. I was like, sure, I just need a minute. So I quickly get ready. I go in, and they were like, don't worry, you're going to be in there with the teacher. The classroom you're taking over, the teacher will still be there all day, maybe even for the rest of the week. You'll be fine. I walk into the classroom, and someone comes to the door. They talk to the teacher, and they're like, oh, she needs to step out. So good luck. I lean against this counter in my room, and I look at all of these faces looking back at me, and I'm just kind of like, all right, let's get started. So, and that was my first teaching experience. And I remember telling myself, it's like, Steve, you have no idea what you're doing. But one thing you will do is not let them know that you have no idea what you're doing. So any of those students, because I bump into them sometimes, that hear this story, it's like, yes, I was terrified. But did you know I was terrified? Sorry, I'm looking at your camera. Anyway, so, yeah, that's a lot about me instead of a little.
Yeah, you gotta fake it till you make it, though. Sometimes,
Right,
you know,
right.
and then you'll figure it out at some point. It's like that book that I think it's Wolf of Wall Street, right?
Or maybe.
But he's just like one chapter ahead of the class.
Oh,
He's just,
no, that's Catch Me If You Can.
oh, Catch Me If You Can. Okay.
Yeah, Abagnale, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he said that he would, when he faked being a professor, he would just read the chapter like that they're going to be doing the day before. So he's like, oh, you just have to stay one chapter ahead of the students, and they'll never know the difference. I feel like that's like that, too, with a lot of things. Like when we did clinical rotations, same thing. Like the first time you come in, you're like, all right, I'm really not sure what I'm doing here, but I'll just act like I know. I'll just check some machines over here. You're like, sir, you don't work for the cable company. Get out of there. Like, oh, all right.
It's kind of like,
To a good start.
what do they say about the extras on Star Trek? They're just randomly pushing buttons and looking like I'm doing stuff.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Just act like you're doing something. Until someone like really zooms in and analyzes it, then you might be in trouble.
You just got to turn and say something random. Sir, we have a problem. We need assistance with sector whatever.
Exactly. We do the exact same thing on my clinicals, too, for our patients. So what made you decide on Vegas, though? Why was Vegas the city that you felt you had to move to?
I don't know what pulled me here specifically. I always thought I was going to end up in Florida because they have a school out there for film, and I always had an interest in cinematography, and I was almost certain, and music, and I was always certain I was going to go out there. But when I came out here, I was offered that job to work with people in the fitness industry, and they had two major shows here, one in the summer, one in the fall. I just felt it was the best move for me in what I was doing at that time.
And then why teaching? What made you decide that teaching is definitely going to be the thing you're going to pursue?
It just felt like a calling. I think the whole point of being a teacher is to be able to help students and to build their knowledge. And when I got into the classroom officially, I felt like it's a little bit bigger than that. You almost become like a parent for these kids while they're with you. I mean, if you think about it, during the week, they see me more than they see their own parents. So it felt like I needed to do it. I had a natural ability to reach the students that really had problems with themselves, had issues, and they didn't know how to handle it. And I just wanted to be there for them for that reason. I saw some teachers, and I knew of some teachers that they just, if the student's not doing what they're supposed to do, I just want them out of my classroom. And I'm more like, you only have a choice. You have a choice to do what I ask you to do, or you have a choice not to do what I have to do. And if you mess up, then you need to say, Mr. Brown, I'm sorry, and then we'll both move on together. But if you are here, I need you in my classroom. I don't need you suspended. I don't need you expelled. I need you here. So I felt like it's my responsibility to lead by example. And hopefully if I teach that way and I function that way, more teachers will realize that, well, maybe he's onto something. And instead of me trying to get rid of this troubled student, how can I keep them in my classroom and help them? How can I adjust what I do to help them? Because these students grow up to become troubled adults if we don't fix it. And some people say it's up to the parent. The parent has to figure it out. But what if the parent doesn't know how to figure it out? What if we are their only chance to get some kind of idea of where they should be, how they should function, how you should handle situations? No, you shouldn't blow up when you're losing it. I was fortunate enough to take over a classroom in special education because I have a dual license where I have elementary education and special education. And I dealt with students with emotional disturbances, and it was probably the most gratifying I had ever been as a teacher because I told my students, I was able to tell them literally, like, you step out of my classroom, you got to keep it together. Think of it this way. Think of it as a game, and you got to play the game. This teacher says all the wrong things to you. Play the game. Keep it together. I don't care if you have to bite your lip. Come to my classroom. Freak out there. Swear, break something. None of this stuff in my classroom matters. It can all be replaced. But I can't replace you if something happens to you. I can't fix you if you get kicked off this campus because you lose your mind. So I think because of that, I had to decide, how can I put myself in the best position to do this for more students? Because there are more students that function this way than there are teachers that are able to work with them. And so I'm by no means God's gift to teaching, but I do feel it's my responsibility that when a student comes my way and they don't have the mental tools to do what they need to do, that I have to, even if it's just saying good morning, I have to do my part. And it's just what I feel as a teacher and why I am a teacher.
That's good. And it's probably, too, when you make that kind of connection with the students, then they really trust you more and they probably open up to you more, because when you have this honest conversation, when you're like, hey, I'm going to treat you like real people.
Yes.
I think that students respect that. I think that they appreciate that.
It's cool to see it at a different level, too. I think we're so far removed from school in general. So when you have the opportunity to have that type of influence on somebody, especially at a younger age, because you're working with the elementary age, middle school, like that range of students. And that's when kids are in a different place of mental development, right? If you think about brain development and how people go through their lifespan, it's like that's where everything is changing in your body. And you're like, I have these legs that are super long and I don't know how to move them anymore. It's like, when you grow, and you both are like 6 something. So I imagine like when you're growing, you're like, my hands are longer and I just like don't know how to use them, like, and you'll feel you're growing. I've heard a lot of taller people. They're like, yeah, like I felt when I was growing, it hurt. And that's things that you're dealing with. And how do you deal with that situation? You're like, these things are changing in my body, but I don't know what tools to use to learn how to do these things. And I think you're a great example for like, hey, like take a step back. Like this is what we're trying to do. Go with me here. You have somebody and you have support, even though you might feel like you're alone in this process. You have somebody to help guide you. That's really awesome. And you have the impact to be able to do that for the younger generation who have a lot of different influence in life right now in many more ways than I think we did when we were growing up as kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like in middle school I got tall and awkward and nothing changed. And here now it's today.
It's hard to hide when you're tall. You just want to kind of blend with everyone, but your head is above everyone else. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We went one time with some of my friends that were all shorter than me. We went to like this cave thing, and every time I'm just like, I could like feel my head like hitting the rocks because they're not squatting down, so I'm not paying attention to it. And then just don't, like every like 30 feet.
What instrument did you play in growing up?
I started off, and I like giving shout outs. So shout out to Mr. Woodson, my band director, actually taught me. It's so funny because I feel like he actually taught me what love is by showing me my love of music. And I started off in middle school. He was my high school band director. And they said, because you have long arms, being tall, why don't you try the trombone? And so I fell in love with the trombone, played that 6th, 7th, 8th. And then high school, I was like, well, I wonder what else I can play. And so I started trying everything brass. And then I eventually started trying to play a little piano by ear. And at some point, I need to take formal lessons. But yeah, any instrument, I will try to play it. I may not be good at it, but I did tuba for a while. Tuba was fun. We did a lot of dancing and weird stuff with the tuba, trying to be fancy and, try to add a little flair to it because I feel like tubas most of the time we're just standing in the back, just playing. So we got really creative, and I was fortunate enough to be drum major one year as well. So that was fun.
That's quite a lot of different instruments.
Yeah.
I can play guitar poorly, and that's about it.
But you can play guitar.
Yep, somewhat. My roommate's much better than me, for sure. So what else do you do to spend your time in Vegas when you're not teaching, playing music?
When I am not teaching, right now a lot of my time is consumed with starting my film company. So I'm putting a lot of effort into that. I started off doing CrossFit 2017 at Camp Rhino. I kept seeing this, I think, before my son was born. My son was born in 2016. It was so funny for me because my wife was, she had food aversion, so some things were good, some things were bad. So it could be 1 second I want this, next second I want that. There's a place here called Roberto's. I'm sure y'all heard of it. So I
was there yesterday.
Oh, see, there you go. So I remember one time when my wife was pregnant, she was like, I want Roberto's. So I go out and I buy her Roberto's. And so she's eating it, and I bought myself some, and she starts crying in the middle of eating. I'm like, well, what's wrong? She's like, I'm feeding my baby junk. And so I was just like rubbing her back. She's like, why, Steve? Why? She's looking over her shoulder. Why, Steve, would you let me feed our baby junk? And I was like, well, you wanted it, so I went and got it for you. I don't know what to do. Sometimes when we talk about you don't know what to do with your hands, you see Ricky Bobby when he's like, I don't know what to do with my hands. That's my life while she was pregnant. And I told her, I was like, you were so funny. Like she went from like, Steve, you're doing this, Steve, you're doing that, Steve, to like the world around us, and I was like, this is what it's like to watch you do this to other people. This is so much fun. And then that night came, and so she's eating stuff because of her aversion. It's like she's losing weight, but every time she's buying these tasty things, I'm buying myself too, so I ballooned up. My son's several months older now, not quite a year yet. I kept seeing these ads for Camp Rhino's 6-week challenge, and they're like, you pay $300, you get $300 back. I believe the challenge has changed since then, but I saw it and I was like, I can do this. And so I had watched CrossFit online. I think because of my interest in bodybuilding, I had seen other things, and CrossFit was one of those things that I was able to see. And I decided this is an opportunity for me to see what it's like firsthand. I'm almost 400 pounds. I'm tired. I have a son. I want to be there for my son. Then I'm like, how am I supposed to do this? There's not enough time in the day. And so then it clicked in my head that there is more time in the day. You just have to be willing to sacrifice that time. So I found out they had a 4 a.m. class. I signed up for the 6-week challenge. My wife was like, you better get that money back. So I was like, I'll get it back. I had to log everything. I showed up to the workouts. I fell in love with CrossFit. I fell in love with the environment. It was so weird to me that at first that everyone was always like, hey, good job, high five, keep going. All this positivity. And I feel like you're a sponge. We're just a sponge, and we absorb everything. And there were some negative things in my life that I had absorbed, so I feel like I was kind of losing my way a little bit. The fitness industry, I surrounded myself by some really positive people, but there were some also negative people that I feel like had a negative impact. So I was kind of trying to pull myself back to the Steve I was versus the Steve I started to become. And after that, I finished the challenge. I kind of let life take over a little bit, focusing on my son and my family and my education and a slew of things. And so ultimately, I kept paying attention to it, started watching the CrossFit games, started paying attention to gyms that were popping up. And now I feel as CrossFit is changing and growing, I want to try to contribute to that in my own way. It has helped me change my life, change my habits, that in tandem with a couple of other things like, I don't know if y'all have heard of 75 Hard. Mm-hmm. I went through 75 Hard, did phase 1 of 75 Hard, and those things also helped me with my discipline because I have had this time in my life where I was well loved growing up, had a lot of family because my grandmother was across the street. Christmas was just crazy. Just everybody would come see my grandmother. Her birthday was on Christmas. Oh, nice. So they'd come see my grandmother, come across the street and see my mom. My mom always had awesome baked goods. And it was just a good time. There was always people around. There was always like love and family. And it slowly changes as you get older, and that's just part of life. But I think what overall stuck with me is that I didn't have enough hardship. And I think that's crazy to say, but think of, this is my perspective. I could be wrong. But I see athletes, young athletes, they grow up to become more disciplined. I see people that go to the military, they tend to be more disciplined. I was a band kid that was skipping school, almost failed 7th grade, got it together for 8th grade to the point to where they put me in the advanced program for high school. But because I didn't have discipline, I signed myself out of it. Went through that, showed up in band, did my thing. Band director was telling me about how I was one of the best players he'd ever seen, but I didn't develop it. I lacked discipline. And so I feel like this is opportunity of it's never too late, right? I'm almost 38 years old. I will finish a workout. If it's a programmed workout, I would, and even though I'd be the last person to finish, if it was timed, I would go the whole 15 minutes or whenever it ends. I'm not where I know I can be, but I do know that I would finish the workout and I would feel like, okay, what's next? I want more. I can do more. I've caught my breath. I want to do more. And so I feel like there's this part of me that wants to be that athlete, that wants to know what it's like to be that disciplined where you don't have a choice. You have to do it. And I do want to be around for my son. I feel like that's very important. And I do want to show the world in my own way possible that it is not too late. Every excuse that you have is just that, it's an excuse. Reasons, I feel like, are excuses. I've seen people do amazing things with nothing, literally nothing. They have turned into something that is worth noticing, worth talking about. And for me, that was when I started running, and that was a year ago in January. I started jogging, and I did 1 mile. I was like, wow, Steve, you did it. That's cool. Let's see if we can do 2. And so I started doing 2 miles every day. And my knees would hurt. They would crack. And I would just keep telling myself, like, you don't have a choice. You got to get up. You got to go. And I would just keep doing that. And then I realized we moved, bought a house, and I'm thankful for that. I'm feeling blessed for that. And so I started going into a new area. Felt a little self-conscious about being in a new area because it wasn't my norm when I started doing something. It was my first time was in one spot. I was comfortable with that one spot. Now I got to get comfortable in another spot. Got over that. Told myself, I'm gonna run my 2 miles. I'll just do my 2 miles. And then one day, I'm jogging, and this older gentleman sees me jogging, and he's like, why don't you just keep on going up that hill? I was like, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to go keep going up that hill. So my 2 miles became 3 miles. And decided I was going to do a 5K a day. So every morning I'd get up, dark outside, scared about that. I'm not going to lie. 38 years old, big man, scared of the dark. Not really scared of the dark. But I mean, just like your imagination takes over. You're going out in like 4 a.m. in the morning, getting up, taking a shower, 4:30 to 5, you're out there. And there's literally no one else, a random car every once in a while. So I'm kind of like looking out of the corner of my eye. I was like, what's up with this person? What are they doing? They're probably looking at me like, what's up with this guy? What is he doing out here jogging? But I did it. It became a part of a routine. And then you learn that your fear is really kind of an enemy, right? It's kind of this thing that holds you back. And so I decided to kind of tell myself, if you fear it, go for it. So if you're scared, you need to run in that direction. And so I remember thinking, like, this hill is going to kill me. And I ran up the hill. The very first time I did it, I couldn't contain myself. I remember outwardly just kind of like pumping my fist. I didn't care if anybody was around or anything. And anytime I cut my time down, I'd clap. I'd give myself a pat on the back. I have this habit of, there's this like entryway on the sidewalk of where I live, and every day I kind of do this 2-hand clap, and I touch the sides of it, kind of like you completed it again. If it was a slower day, doesn't matter, you got out there. Let's try to make it faster tomorrow. If I made it faster the next day, then we were celebrating that. If it wasn't about pace, it was about form. If it was a matter of, I don't know exactly how I'm doing this or that, the other, I would research it. If somebody ran faster past me, I was looking at their stride to see how can I make sure I adjust my stride. Okay, I'm slower because I have more body weight than I'm moving, then how can I make sure I'm lowering my body weight to pick up my pace? So it all became this science, and I realized the more I fell in love with the process, the more I loved doing it. And I started reading these books. A part of 75 Hard is that you have to read a book. So like 10 pages a day. And so I've gone through several books now at this point, and I feel like I just have to take these bits and pieces. If you don't love the process, if you're worried about the end result, then, well, for me, worrying about the end result was almost like shooting myself in the foot, because I'm so focused on the end result. My process was garbage. I had to adjust and realize that, okay, today, this is what we're doing in the process. Tomorrow, this is what we're doing in the process. And how can we keep going? How can we keep making sure that we're doing that? And it becomes auto mode. And I started going through that. And then I realized I didn't like auto mode. I almost felt like I needed the chaos of how can you push yourself harder today? How can you do a little bit more today than you did yesterday? So maybe my pace needs to be faster. Maybe I need to go a little bit farther than I went yesterday. Something. You got to do something, Steve. My wife was kind enough to help us figure out how we could start our garage gym, because, things have been a little bit different. We are way fortunate than a lot of people over the course of what happened since last year. But so we did get some equipment, and even down there in the garage, if I'm sitting on the couch kind of dozing off, I ask myself, is my cup full? And when I say that, I mean, like, is there anything left I can put in that cup until it's overflowing for the day? And if my cup doesn't feel full, I peel myself off the couch, I go down to the garage, and I figure it out. But I just feel like I can't leave anything. If I leave any bit of opportunity if I leave any chance of not being able to fulfill my day, not my life, just my day, then I have to fix it. And it becomes this thing where we try to trick ourselves and tell ourselves this and tell ourselves that. And I remember talking to my nephew and told my nephew one day, because he was going through something, and I told him, I was like, hey, man, we were raised soft. Were we loved? Yes. Were we fortunate? Yes. Did we have things that other people didn't? Of course. We didn't necessarily need anything. We were always taken care of, but we were raised soft. And I think about it. At 11 years old, I was cutting grass with my uncle, and I think that was like a drop in the bucket, a good drop in the bucket, because my bucket was probably empty at that point of discipline. And I thought about it some more. Well, in band, we had to jog every day. Another drop in the bucket. I was a lanky kid, so it was okay then. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until afterwards I discovered food, and everything kind of changed. Like my emotions, I need a food pillow to make me feel better. Wipe my tears with pizza. So it's just like, so it changes, and so we have to make those shifts. And then when I realized, and you think, and you like, if it's in me, then there had to have been something in my life that started to build that. I didn't just up and get it. Something had to have happened. And I feel like what was crazy to me, because my mom passed, and when I would train and I would try to use that as my motivation, I would maybe have a good workout, but what about the next day? And when I try to use it again, it wouldn't have the same effect. I'm like, but I know I love my mom. I know I miss my mom. Why isn't it working? You know what? I'm going to use my wife and my son. I might have a great workout that day, but the next day, it's kind of like it's not the same. And so I'm racking my brain. I was like, Steve, what's up? What's going on? Why aren't you able to take that and have that fire every day? And the craziest thing I realized, again, for me, was when I used myself as motivation, it felt infinite. The other things were finite in some way that I couldn't understand. I still don't really know if I understand it. I do feel like I understand motivation differently now. And I see people kind of give motivation a bad rap. And I'm like, why are you talking bad about motivation? Because in my eyes, motivation is the spark. Discipline might keep the flame going. But if I wasn't motivated, I wouldn't even get to the point where I realized I needed discipline. So I just do all of these things to keep moving in the right direction.
So for listeners who don't know what 75 Hard is, can you tell us what that is?
Absolutely. It's from Andy Frisella. He's, I believe, one of the owners of First Form. And he came up with a process that it's not really a fitness program. It's more of like a program for life. It's kind of like how he sells it. And it's something that I kept seeing quite a bit. And I'm like I told y'all, I don't know if I said it during while we were recording, but sometimes I see something and I'm like, I have to do this. I just got to jump right into it. And so I saw 75 Hard and I felt like I needed to jump into it. My wife was joking about how I didn't even tell her I was doing it. I just decided I was going to do it. And so because it does take, when I wasn't sure, I didn't have a groove, I didn't know exactly how I was going to do it. I'm terrible at planning. I just kind of like jump in first and then figure it out. And so I jumped in, and it's really cool because you have, well, I think it's really cool. It has 2 workouts. One must be outside. You can't do the workouts back to back. They have to be 45 minutes each. You have to pick a diet, stick to the diet. You have to drink a gallon of water a day. You have to read 10 pages of a book. You cannot have any alcohol, no cheat meals. And I believe that's the gist of it. So I pretty much enjoyed the whole process. And how I broke it down was getting into this groove of 45 minutes. I'm going to wake up in the morning. I'm going to do my first workout for 45 minutes. I'm going to drink my water. I'm going to read my book. And I realized that if I could do all of it in the first half of the day, then the rest of the day was pretty much easy. So it started feeling easy, started feeling kind of cocky about it. And I think because it's mental toughness. So here's where it kind of became a challenge. My body started getting tired. And when my body started getting tired, those tasks started seeming monumentous, like just 45 minutes of working out. Oh my gosh, this is tough. And so then I had to realize that, Steve, you need more discipline. And so I love the program because I think it was adrenaline in the beginning. It was just this like, it's a really cool thing. I'm jumping into it and I'm doing it. And when I got tired, I realized I needed to plan my rest. And so the cool thing that came from it was realizing that I need to prioritize restoring my body and relaxing and resting and letting my body heal. I made some mistakes along the way. I was doing 2 5Ks a day instead of just the one. And so my legs were feeling like tore up. And I'm like, what's wrong with my legs? Because in my mind, I'm like, I can do anything, you know? But even though I've lost quite a bit of weight, because like I said, I was almost 400 pounds. And then when I started it, I was 350, 340, somewhere around there. And so I was losing weight. It was coming off really quick. And the whole point is not the weight loss, but it's the mentality change. And so I started feeling kind of like invincible a little bit. You know, and then my body was like, "You're not invincible. Sit down." And so I switched things up. Started doing things in my garage and working out in my garage, and like it just became this thing for me. And like I said earlier, we try to pull from other people, or I try to pull from other people. And yes, great messages from people all the time. I read things that people say online. I watch videos that are inspirational, but I feel like at some point I gotta stop watching it. At some point I gotta stop reading about it, and I have to start putting it into action. And so that's what it became about, this kind of like shifting gears of motivation overload. You know what I mean? It was just too much to where I had to make it just about me. I had to realize what I needed to do. I had to kind of put my blinders on. And yeah, there's 75 Hard groups. There's all of this stuff about it. And I still follow Andy on Instagram, and he posts daily about these different things. And I had to pretty much push it all back. And I had to be like, I need to figure this out for myself. I need to either fail on my own. Oh, and that's the other part about it. If you fail, you start over on day one.
Ooh.
Yeah. So there's stories of people that got to the 74th or 75th day and for some reason just had a mental hiccup. Or they forgot their water, that last bottle of water, or they forgot a page of the book. And or there's people that try to, and this was the big one for me, they tried to adjust the program to fit them. Oh, instead of doing water, I'll do tea. Instead of I'm going to do if it fits my macros. So if this donut fits my macros, then I'm going to consume it. But if you listen, he has a podcast that explains all of it in detail, like in very in-depth podcast. And I remember the day I decided to do it, I don't even think I listened to the podcast yet. I actually jogged while listening to it. And I was like, oh, okay, kind of like making mental notes. And when I realized that, oh, this is really strict, I love it, because I am the type of person that will try to make it fit myself, or at least I feel like I was. Now, not so much. I can definitely make things black and white. It's no longer that gray area. I don't know if I like to play there anymore, because that gray area can create this situation where that almost 400-pound man can win the situation. And I actually am kind of pulling from David Goggins here, because he just said, like, he was almost 300 pounds. He's like, that 300-pound man is there. He's just lurking. And so I'm like, my 400-pound man is lurking. And when he said that, I was like, it's just like last week or this past week. And I was like, that is so true. He's just waiting. Any day where I'm too tired, any day where I'm feeling a little sad, and I want to wipe my tears with a biscuit, I have to tell myself that I can't do that. I can't let the 400-pound man win, because he's going to become a 500-pound man. They're going to have to cut me out of my house, because there's no stopping. It's just a slippery slope. And so the structure of it just really became this kind of like format. It became this kind of like book. It became this kind of guide. It was almost like having someone looking over my shoulder, making sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, because I made it public. I post every day when I completed my day. So I knew if I failed, that was going to be public as well. So that was my accountability. Instead of me having to pay for a coach or pay for some program, this was something free. I think a $7 app I paid for at one point, and it became my accountability. And it's been amazing. Every time I'm on it, I feel great. I did fail this last time. I started in January. And I did it for the wrong reasons, I feel like. I did it because I was trying to motivate friends. And I've learned for myself that I have to motivate myself. I have to do it for myself. And if I do it for any reason that's not for me, as selfish as that may sound, I am going to fail. So I'm actually 3 days into it again. And I didn't tell anyone that I was starting it except my wife that morning, because I naturally want to pull people in. Come on, let's do it together. We'll get through it together. We'll finish together. But I learned in January that if I don't do it because I want to do it, and if I don't do it for myself, then I will likely fail. If someone sees me doing it and they start doing it, then I'm gonna be like, yeah, let's go. Did you finish your day? What do you have left to do? Let's get it finished. But I feel like that let's all come together and start together was not beneficial for me. So I mean, it's cool if someone starts the same day as me, but I can't make it like some official thing. It becomes like this, almost like this mental block. And the issue was, there was a good group of us that motivated each other, and as people started failing, I felt like it was just like I was closer and closer to just failing myself. And I can't have that. I can't have this what I feel like are these excuses. Well, this person failed, so I mean, why are you still doing it? You know what I mean? And then I do have another reason, and like I do feel like it's an excuse, because a part of me wished that I could have gone through it and said something different than I'm about to say now. So I decided to do a half marathon. A friend of mine online said she was going to do a half marathon. It was going to be here in Boulder City, Nevada. She's from Salt Lake City, and shout out to Angie. And she was like, well, why don't you do it? And I was like, cool, I'll do it. Let's do it. And so I started getting ready for the marathon, and it felt like my energy. It was my first time ever thinking of doing it. I mean, 5K a day is one thing, but a marathon is another thing. The longest I've ever jogged was, I think, a 10K at that point. Yeah, a 10K at that point. I think I did one in the fall. And so I was freaking out, and I was trying to understand getting ready for a half marathon and trying to do 75 hard. And so I decided to just fail so I can focus on the half marathon. I felt like I was mentally spreading myself too thin. And so I'm a little disappointed, because I feel like I almost wish I could have said, I got ready for a half marathon and I finished 75 hard. So now I feel like I stole something from myself, right? There was this opportunity to be able to say something, and now I can't say it. So now my brain is like, okay, Steve, let's fix it. So I've started 75 hard again. I'm starting a film production company, and I am getting ready for another half marathon. So now I want to be able to get through this and say, see, you didn't have to quit. You could have kept on going.
That's good. Tell us more about your film company.
My film production company is 4am in Vegas Films. And 4am in Vegas used to be my Instagram handle, and I changed it to my actual name because I feel like it's important for me to be me, and I have to show who I am, and I have to be who I am. But then I realized that 4am in Vegas is also who I am, because I woke up at 4am in the morning when I realized that there's enough time in the day, you just got to get up. And so now I get up at 4, and it's not just about me working out, it's also about my film production company. And so the whole goal of the company is a lot like what we were talking about when we weren't recording, and I want to make sure that people know this, because I think it's really awesome what you two do. And you want to bring people together, and you want people to be able to meet each other. And I think that's what it's about. We have to realize that if our heart and our content is honest and pure, then we can make no mistakes. If we want to bring people together, build up a community, and then have that community grow by having people mingle and interchange information, then we should be doing that. And I feel like my film production company is an opportunity for me to do that. I did photography. I did family photography. I love all of my clients. I'm thankful that they chose to give me that opportunity. But I have to follow my heart, which tells me if CrossFit was able to give me something, I want to give something back. And so I want to go into boxes, and I want to talk to people like yourselves. I want to talk to the owners of the CrossFit affiliate, and I want to try to highlight the community. I want to highlight what helped change me and my mentality and push me towards finding out if Steve Brown Jr. can truly become an athlete. And so I really want to create something to where when someone gets done watching one of my videos, they have a positive emotion associated with it. And it makes them want to watch another one, or maybe watch that again, or maybe find out, well, who was in this video? Because I think that person was really awesome. I think at the end of the day, if I am not popular, if I'm not famous, if my production company doesn't do what I want it to do, but I have made someone else successful, or I've helped someone else, mission accomplished. You know what I mean? So I do want to create something beautiful, something that maybe one day I can hand down to my son if he so cares or so chooses. Or even if I can get him to understand that, son, you can fail. It's okay to fail. You can fail loudly if you want to, but you have to try. And if you don't try, then that's the problem. So if my production company becomes something worth handing to him, I want him to know that you need to try. I can give you all the tools in the world, but if you don't know how to use those tools, what do they matter? I can give you everything under the sun, but if you don't care to look at it and accept it for what it is, what does it matter? And I also want to make sure that we understand that, because people do give off vibes, people do give off feelings, and people give off emotions. And I don't know if truly everyone understands that. I really don't think so, because when I interact with someone, I have to be cognizant of what are they going to feel when I walk away from this person. Not what are they going to think of me, because I'm going to be honest, I don't care what people think about me. I don't care if someone likes me. I don't care if someone dislikes me. It's not my job to make sure people like me. But I do feel like it's my job to make sure people understand that people can be good. People can be pure. People can be in a way that almost seems fake. And I feel like some people meet me and they think I am not authentic. They think I'm trying to put up a facade. That kind of actually angers me. It bothers me. Because, no, when I tell you that I really want you to succeed, I consider sharing your photo on Instagram, or I actually share your photo on Instagram. I share your videos. I save your information. I start talking to people about you. I seem to put more effort into your business than I put into my own. That's because I want to be a thread in your success. I don't need to be a big part. I just want to be a part. And that goes for anyone on the earth, because I want to try to fix some things that need to be mended. I don't care about political affiliation. I don't care about race. I don't care about ethnicity. I don't care about social, economic backgrounds. I don't care about any of it. And I think what a lot of people get caught up in is what makes us different. What makes us the same? That's more important. How can I make sure that we understand what makes us the same? I don't care who you are. I know in my heart that I can find something that can pull us together. And pretty much with my film company, I want to be able to highlight that there is always something that can pull any two people together if they are willing to sit down and talk. I don't care for negativity. I don't live in a bubble and think that it's all rainbow and sunshine. But the thing about it is when something bad happens, I want to learn from it. I don't want to crumble under it. Give me a little pressure. Give me something that is tough. As far as I'm concerned, I've gone through the worst thing I can ever go through, which was the loss of my mother. Now, obviously, God forbid something happens with my family, and I don't want to speak such things into the universe, but when you feel like a part of you has been ripped from your soul, there's really nothing else that anyone can do to you. You know what I mean? So when you feel almost emotionally invincible, and you know that you want to pull people up and highlight them and show the world who they are, I want nothing more than to have the platform to do that. And I said all of that to pretty much say that is the purpose of 4 a.m. in Vegas Films. I want to highlight Vegas because I feel like this is where my life changed. This is where I met my wife, who is my best friend, who wants to see me succeed. She is the mother of my child. She is one of the funniest ladies I know. And I want to make sure I share that appreciation because I feel like Las Vegas is more than just a strip. So much more. And that's why it is what it is.
That's excellent. So what's something that you've learned that you wish you knew sooner?
Nothing. Because I feel like we learn everything in the time that we were meant to learn it. Sorry for the short answer.
No, we're good.
Some
we
of them
love
need
it.
to be short, right?
Yeah, that's good. And what's something you've been working on? And we talked about your film company, but something else that you're excited about, professionally, personally, something physically, mentally that you're excited about.
I'll try to keep this short. I'm excited about everything. I am a huge dork. Everything makes me excited for no good reason. I scream when I'm teaching. My poor kids, one of them typed, "You scared me." I was like, "I'm so sorry." But someone got a good answer and I screamed about it. If it's raining, I'm happy. If it's the sun is out, I'm happy. If it, I don't know. I mean, everything just makes me excited. I feel like life is for living. So I absorb everything. And just give me something, I'll tell you what I like about it. I mean, pickles, yeah, they're awesome. Put them on a sandwich. Mondays is an opportunity to start a new week. I mean, so it's like almost a part of me is like, give me something that you feel negative about. I'll tell you what's good about it. You know what I mean? I'm up for that challenge, so keep that in mind. Steve.brown.jr. on Instagram. Hit me with something negative, and I'll tell you how to turn it into a positive. You're welcome.
Excellent. So how else can people find you? Is it Instagram?
Yes.
Okay.
I am busiest on Instagram. Steve.brown.jr. or my company is 4 a.m. in Vegas _films. And either way, yes.
All right. And what do you want to leave with listeners with?
Oh, man. I feel like I've said so much already. I just think live life, make the most of everything, understand that you are a piece in a bigger puzzle, and you can choose to be a good piece in that puzzle or a bad piece in the puzzle. And anything bad that happens to you is not happening to you. It could be happening for you.
Outstanding.
Love that. And one question we always ask our guests, what is your favorite cheat meal? I know we can phrase that better, but something that you really freaking love to eat.
I am always in the mood for sushi, no matter what. It's just the best. Sushi and, I don't know if this is weird, same night, and ice cream. Yeah.
I love
Together?
Together, no, but I'll try it.
What flavor ice cream?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, once again, we appreciate it. I love your energy. It's infectious.
Thank you.
Makes me completely happy talking to you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yes.
I feel motivated now to go start my day. I want to run 5K now. So we really appreciate you being on the show.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve.
We'd like to thank you for listening to La Vida Las Vegas podcast. We hope you enjoyed the time with our guests as much as we did. It would help us out so much if you could share, subscribe, or review our podcast or any combination of the three. Thanks again, and remember to take care of yourself.